Hello, everybody. Welcome to Homo Sapiens. Christopher Sweeney here, your weekly dose of big gay stuff. How are we all doing? All is well over here. Fever pitch excitement for the very fast impending Homo Sapiens dog walk. I hope you're all going to be coming down. I'm with someone who I want to talk about many things with today. But who is currently riding high on a big success of a really, really interesting show. So I would love to welcome James Barr to the show. Hello, James, host of Hits Radio, previous host of a gay and a non-gay podcast, now has a brand new podcast called What If People Find Out? And here today, because we spoke a little bit on message about this incredible show you've done, James, called Sorry I Hurt Your Son, Said My Ex to My Mum.
Thank you
Welcome,
so much for having
James.
me, Chris. It's lovely to be here.
We are delighted to have you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to spend time with you. We always run into each other, but never get to really nestle into each other. So I think this will be lovely.
This is the thing about podcasting, is you only do your own podcast, even though you're all in the same space. When do you ever really, you don't really cross over. So it's very nice to have you here. And
you're doing an amazing job. Your podcast has just been, I feel like for the people that listen to it, it is a huge community and means a lot to people, especially like to their survival and stuff. So yeah, thanks for having me. I'm worried some of your listeners hate me. I'm trying to come in on a grovel here.
Why would they hate you?
I don't know. I think when I was hosting a gay and a non-gay, Homo Sapiens felt like the intelligent listen, and we felt like the sort of trashy, slutty listen. So coming over to this side is a real privilege and an honor.
Oh, bless you. And James, listen, who do you ever have a better night out with? The slutty night out is always more fun. Let's be clear. And I'm thrilled you think we're intelligent. Any listener will be able to write in hello@homosapienspodcast.com and give you reasons why I'm not. But it's really interesting to be talking to you today. And actually, Thomas, the first. So this season, listeners are suggesting episodes, peppered in with ones I'm coming up with because there's lots of things going on in the world, etc. But Thomas wrote in, and he was the first person to talk to me about your show, Sorry I Hurt Your Son, Said My Ex to My Mum, which is about your experience of domestic violence. And
that's right.
Is that the right way to describe it? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you said experience of domestic violence rather than using tired old words like survivor or victim. I don't like those words, and I think those words sort of tether me to my abusive ex-boyfriend's pain. So, and I feel free of that thanks to the work I've done both in therapy and live on stage in front of an audience
for over 100 shows. It'll rub off on you real nice. It is incredible, and the reaction has been incredible. 5-star reviews across the board, etc. And it is a departure for you. You with your Hits Radio, with a gay and a non-gay, there was a lightness and a fun about your sort of public profile, and then you come in with this show about domestic violence that is also funny. Wow, there's a hard needle to thread, but somehow you've managed it. Did comedy, I know that is also your bread and butter, so did comedy feel like the only way with which you could be open about this part of your life?
That's interesting. And no, I don't think so. It wasn't the first choice. I don't think I planned on talking about it at all, if I'm honest. Certainly not as soon as I did. But I was very broken. I was spinning out. I was in a bit of a spiral. I called it my chaos era, to be honest. because I was choosing chaos, so that made it okay. I think you can make bad decisions as long as you're choosing them. And that's certainly what I did for the first year after this relationship, alongside some very good decisions as well. And I was ready to put it in a box. I was ready to push it down. And then my ex, and I hate to sort of even make this conversation about him, but obviously there's a huge part of it that is born from that. He announced a new boyfriend on the internet. And I saw that and I didn't know what to do. And it annoyed me so much that he wasn't working on himself. He wasn't going to help heal himself, that I had to do something. I had to take accountability for him almost. And so I decided there and then I've got to put this somewhere. And I'd already been doing stand-up, so that did feel like the right place. Also, I'd seen a lot of comedy shows. I'd seen a lot of stand-up comedians, and it was driving me mad. And I'd also performed like in the midst of the breakup, and it was driving me mad because I was so angry at the world, at everything, at everyone. And when I was watching comedy, I felt like it was abusive because it was using the same tools as abuse. It's deceitful. There's tension, there's release, there's tension again, there's catharsis, there's anger, all of the emotions that we all just experience in our daily lives, to be honest. But it felt a bit gaslighty. I'm sure you've seen a comedian once and thought, that's not true, is it? You're just sort of saying that for a laugh. And I was seeing all of that and I thought, well, what better place to show people abuse, explain abuse, especially through a queer lens, than in a stand-up comedy show. It's actually the most perfect place for it. And a lot of people told me it wasn't. I was told people don't want to see trauma dumps anymore post-COVID. I was told that it was offensive, that I'm not a survivor because I didn't go to hospital and I didn't nearly die. So why am I talking about this? There's so many prerequisites on abuse. People load it with so many ifs and whats and buts, and everyone has an opinion on it and everyone has their say over how to talk about it. And I just thought, actually, no, fuck off. That's actually abusive as well. Like, everyone's telling me what to do and I just need to sort of speak to my truth. So I started writing this comedy show. It wasn't very funny, obviously, for a very long time. It was really upsetting. I was crying on stage and people in the audience were crying, and I was reading bits of paper. I couldn't learn it because it was far too difficult to process it. And throughout the whole experience, I have unpicked, I would say, the PTSD that this relationship left me with. I've unpicked that barrier of protection my own consciousness erected. I've unpicked that, and I've remembered things that I'd forgotten or deliberately protected myself from.
Were you almost like piecing it together on stage at first, just telling little stories, seeing what worked, what didn't, and then it grew?
I mean, I don't think, yeah, I guess so. I don't think it, at first it just wasn't, I wasn't okay. Obviously, I was not myself, and I was trying desperately to piece myself back together and figure out what the hell had happened. And so I think at first it felt like a real, it was sort of my old style of comedy, which was dick jokes, messiness,
brilliant,
silliness, and then a big drop into abuse, which I could feel wasn't really okay, because I'm sort of an empath as well, Chris. So like, I can tell when the audience isn't okay, and then that affects me in turn. And so I think I could definitely tell, like, this is not comfortable. I really thought people would call the police early on into the journey.
Really?
Because there's so many. I just thought people would. I thought they'd be like, oh, you need to prosecute this guy's ex. Like, you need to find him. Or like, oh, this comedian shouldn't be talking about this. This isn't okay. You need to arrest him. How dare he? How dare he make jokes about such a horrible subject? I really didn't feel safe at all, anywhere in life, but also on stage. So I'm so grateful to everyone that has come to see it, especially in those early development stages where it was just it was difficult. I performed it in Edinburgh in 2024. Well, 23 the first time as a work in progress, and then 2024. And it unraveled by the end of that run because I just wasn't okay. And I kept going. And then last year returned, and it was closer to where I want it to be.
How many times would you say you've performed it now?
At my last count, which was in Edinburgh, I'd hit 100, like mid-run last year. And since then, I've performed it in Australia. I've done a 2-week run in Melbourne. I sold out Soho Theatre in London. So I think
Amazing.
I think we must be hitting like 130 times.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because that comedy is truth, isn't it? You know, that's what everybody says. And you were simply telling the truth. And comedy can be sometimes an easier way to tell the truth, can't it? Like whenever you, much smaller example, but if ever you want to call a friend out on something, sometimes it's best to make a joke out of it, you know? Comedy is a route to the truth when things are hard to swallow. This is kind of feels like the peak example of that.
Yeah, there is truth in comedy. Everyone always says another phrase too. Tragedy plus time equals comedy.
Oh, really? That's lovely.
But I didn't really do that because I didn't give it time. I just went straight in.
So was this straight off the back of the relationship?
Literally within a year, yeah. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did that. And I know it was hard for people to watch. Friends of mine definitely found that probably hard, although they've always been fully supportive of it. Not all of them, but they're not friends anymore. But the truth is, if I hadn't done it then, I never would have done it because I wouldn't want to face it. I wouldn't want to talk about it. And we see that in society. People don't want to talk about this. They don't want to talk about domestic violence, especially in LGBTQ plus relationships, because we have all these fears about how lucky we are to have our rights and how if they find out that we're gay bashing each other, they'll take our rights away from us. And I understand that fear, of course, because I had it myself. If I'd have taken the time to heal, then I wouldn't have created this personally life-saving show for myself. And I did make it for myself, and I made it for my ex and other people that are living in an abuse cycle and haven't seen that. And also other survivors, hate to use that word, and just the rest of us and society in general, to be honest with you. I really think we need to get over ourselves and face this as a community, definitely.
And so thinking about it as a community, like you just said, so I've got some stats here. 61% of bisexual women have experienced rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner. 54% of transgender and non-binary people have experienced intimate partner violence in their lifetimes. 44% of lesbian women have experienced rape, physical violence, or stalking by a partner. Importantly, these numbers are dramatically higher than for straight cisgender people, but LGBTQ plus domestic violence remains largely invisible. 49% of gay and bisexual men have experienced at least one incident of domestic abuse from a family member or partner since the age of 16, compares with 1 in 6 for men in general. So that's the landscape, right? And I want to talk about that more, but I wanted to talk first about your relationship, if you don't mind. And when was the first moment that you realized something was different, something was wrong here? Do you remember that moment?
That is a question that I find hard to answer purely because I was ignoring everything. There was never a moment where I went, something's wrong here, because I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know that this happened to queer people, to men. I didn't know as a gay man this could happen to me. So I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't on it. I wasn't aware of it. I just assumed I felt lucky. I'd found love. I thought I'd found the person I wanted to spend my life with, and he was really sweet. and kind. And I'm sure you know that. Obviously, it seems it's so silly to point it out, but people aren't inherently evil. People can be really wonderful, kind, beautiful, big-hearted people that then also abuse people. I think that's the nuance that's really missing in conversation about this, and that's just across the board. That's for straight people too. We really want to make these people evil so we can cope with it, but they're just not. It's just like some are, but a lot aren't. They're just your brother, your sister.
It makes it harder to recognize in some ways because you're waiting for them to do something horrific. You're waiting for them to do something that is quote unquote evil, and perhaps it's more insidious than that.
It doesn't happen like that. And it is more insidious. And I think Paloma Faith describes it quite beautifully in one of her songs about a slow dripping tap. And it is that. It's a very slow flood that you don't notice. It creeps up on you. Looking back, as I have done to try and tell a narrative in my show, I think one of the first things, I noticed him apologizing for me on public transport if I was in the way. I noticed him lightly roasting me. He told me that he dumped a boyfriend because they were ginger. I'm obviously ginger. So that comment felt weird, but I just sort of thought, oh, well, I must be special. And then he said to a group of friends that I had a small dick. And at the time, again, I laughed that off because I don't. And I just thought, well, that's really weird. But like, I obviously don't. Otherwise, I'd have known. I've slept with like a lot of men. Someone would have mentioned it. I've seen a lot of dicks, Chris. So I know what a small dick looks like.
I've been out in the community. I've done my work in the
research.
Community.
So I ignored it. Yeah. But the thing is that comment did stay with me and has stayed with me since. And I do now feel ashamed to be naked in a gym changing room because of the insidious nature of that comment. And I've even asked partners about it, and they're like, "No, you have a great penis, James. It's okay." How insane! But also insane that he said it, and insane that I'm still having to deal with that. And then I think the violence started in a playful way. Well, it wasn't playful for me, but if he lost a computer game, or if something went, I don't know, it wasn't playful. I think he could mask it as playful, but it wasn't playful. It was anger. He had a lot of emotions he couldn't control, and energy he couldn't control, and anger that he couldn't control. And it would just, I rationalized it by thinking, I'm just in the way. I shouldn't have stood there in my own house. So there isn't an easy answer to that question, really. It's a clusterfuck.
But the first,
I think it's confusing. I think it's really hard because the person who you feel safe with, who you've spent a long time feeling safe with, that you trust, that's in your home, is now also unsafe. And it's confusing.
It started as something that seemed or was being portrayed as playful, but it was allowing an expression of something. And I always remember a therapist saying to me, you know when something isn't quite right. That your gut instinct kicks in. But he was using playful. Tell me more what you were saying about a computer game or something. So like a faux reason. I want to disagree
with your therapist, actually, and I'm sure they'll love that.
Let's patch her in.
I don't think that's true. I don't think you always know in your gut. Chris, you might. But I don't think everyone always knows, because I don't think unless we hear these stories, unless we see this, I don't think we don't know that it's violent. I just thought, well, I'm not a woman, so it's obviously not domestic abuse, is it? And even after the relationship I'm sorry I'm picking up on that, but I think it's really important. Even after the relationship had finished, for 2 years, I was still Googling it. Wasn't sure. I was even doing a show about domestic abuse, and I was thinking, can I call it abuse? Because I am alive, and I didn't die, and he didn't put me in hospital, and I didn't phone the police. I should have done, but I didn't. And so is this abuse? And I kept Googling it, and I was like, well, he wasn't emotionally abusive. I told myself he was just violent. He wasn't emotionally abusive, even though he'd said all this stuff to me about what I looked like and and apologized to me and made me feel really small all the time. And so I was just filling out forms constantly. I was on the the LGBTQ plus domestic violence website, and I was ticking boxes to see whether or not I was in an abusive relationship, and it would be like, yep, congratulations, you are in an abusive relationship. And I was like, well, I'm not, because I left it. But the fact that I'm still here 2 years later questioning whether or not it was or it wasn't is indicative of the fact that I don't think you can trust your gut. I think you might not know.
No, and I absolutely accept that, because I actually it wasn't about in the moment, because otherwise we'd all have crystal balls. It was more like on reflection. She was talking about things from 10 years ago. Now I remember the conversation, but and you actually can look back, and with time you can know what was going on.
Well, I think these lessons teach you in the future to know.
Yeah.
And actually, my New Year's resolution this year is 100% trust my gut. Doesn't matter what it's telling me, it's right.
Do you know that saying, your gut speaks to you in statements and your anxiety speaks to you in questions?
Interesting.
It's good. I find it very useful.
Yeah.
And again, not a solval, but it is, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can sort of now differentiate between those two voices, because anxiety is a lot of chatter in my head. And that can really drown out the gut.
Sorry I picked up on that point. I always correct my therapist as well. Like I know better.
I love that. I love that I'm your therapist. We've been going 20 minutes on your therapist. This is beautiful, beautiful stuff. But it is fascinating, the amount of doubt, and I think it's important to say at this point as well that we are in the show notes. There are resources for people who are if they're feeling like they are experiencing this stuff. You can go, and we'll talk about the resources in a bit more depth. But there are resources you can go to. They're in the show notes. 1, 2. There is is it called the Wheel of Control or something? This test you can do online, which is one of the tools to help you understand, perhaps with a bit more objectivity, because of all that personal doubt and gaslighting that you experience, can help you understand if you're in an abusive relationship.
I think I was gaslighting myself probably more than he was.
And did you tell anyone ever?
No, I told very few people. And if I did tell them, I'd just say, "Oh, he gets a bit angry every now and again, but it's fine." Or like, "Oh, he has a bit of an anger problem." I would say that.
Well,
I think I only told really like 2 or 3 very close friends that, and 2 of them didn't really pick up on it, and one of them did, and because she was a survivor of abuse, and she kept bringing it back up whenever we spoke. She would bring it back up, and she would say, "Have you told him to have a therapist yet? Have you told him to do any work yet? Has he done it? You need to give him an ultimatum." She would like push me to remember that it was happening. She would check in with me, see if he'd been violent, angry, and that was quite powerful. I think she thought she was being annoying, but I'm very glad she did that, because it really held him accountable through me, and me accountable to see it.
Well, if we're talking specifically about gay men as well, men are associated with violence, right? And I've had gay friends, gay couples who have fought physically, and if you heard about that with a straight couple or, trans couple, or you'd be like, your reaction would be different. And it's sort of expected. And I think that shrouds it in mystery, both for those outside but also those in the relationship, would you say?
That breaks my heart, really. I never fought back. I never hit back. I think mostly because it was always such a surprise. It was like, wow, where did that come from? And it always felt like a mistake. Also, it wasn't. I don't know. It's interesting thinking about it. It's mad thinking about it, especially where I'm sat, because it happened here.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm living with these. I've had to make friends with these horrible things that happened. I guess that's how I've written a comedy show about it, because I made friends with it. But I'm ready to leave.
The flat or
Yeah.
the story?
Yeah.
Okay. And and what did finally make you leave the relationship? How did that pan out?
This is true, and a gag in the show, but it is true. There were a lot of moments where I really didn't feel like myself. We were at events sometimes, and I was like, I wish he wasn't there. I was deliberately making sure when we went on holiday that it was like a group of people, and I didn't really even realize I was doing that. But he kept bringing it up, like, why are we always going away with your friends? And as soon as my consciousness kicked back in, and I went, oh shit. I think I realized why. He said something to me. He said, I haven't been violent for a while. And that gave me chills, really. Because it suddenly felt like... Honestly, I still haven't really processed what that feels like. Even now, it feels... I mean, I could easily make a joke and say, well, I don't know, he was treating it like a juice cleanse or something. But I think, truthfully, it felt as though he was controlling it, which meant he could decide not to control it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like that. Also, it made it stopped me. I was ignoring it, right? I was trying to ignore it because I loved him. I wanted to be with him. So I was ignoring it. And the second he brought it up, I couldn't ignore it because he'd mentioned it. But we carried on for a while longer, and then I had a Botox appointment, and I honestly had a panic attack at the needle. And then the clinician told me, I think she just spotted it. I don't know how, but she genuinely did. And she came to my show at Soho Theatre the other day. She's such a huge part of the hour. It meant a lot, and she changed my life, really, because she said, are you okay? Held my hand, and I was like, no, I think I need to leave my boyfriend. And she just saw that, and she said, oh, I left my husband because he was violent and I wanted to protect our daughter. She said those words to me, and I think I was just like, oh, fuck. Okay. Right. And the fact that she saw it before I said anything just tells you everything you need to know, really. Does it?
She could see it in you. Well, do you know what
I think
really
it's there's a language in this that most of us are not learning or listening to, and
also, is there something in the idea of like you're bearing? It really reminds me. The way you're talking is reminding me of coming out as well. Like you know it, but you're not listening to it. Someone else says it. That makes you, undeniable.
It's really interesting you said that, because coming out, my director really encouraged me to think about shame, maybe in year 2 of writing this. And I think I did. I leaned into that, and I think I've realized that this is like coming out. And in so many ways. And that's why I think another reason why I was like, I've got to keep doing this, and I've got to wear this and have it be part of my armor as I move through life rather than push it down. Because when you're queer, you come out and you face who you are and you tell everyone else and they get used to it. And I think if you look back at comedy in the past, like drag queens, queer people have always been a protest. We've always protested through comedy and through art. And that's how I think we've won some of our rights, right? By being visible and by being loud and proud. And so I felt like if I could just utilize that exact same energy for domestic abuse, then I could change my life and hopefully how other people view this. So that's been the mission, really. I think it was the mission all along. I just didn't clock it like that. But it absolutely is like coming out. And I want everyone that's suffered or been in a relationship like this to come out. I think we should all come out. I think we should all be talking about it all the time because people need to face it. Not because we want to be a Debbie Downer or like drain everyone or dump our trauma on people, but because actually people that have survived things like this are probably the most thoughtful, interesting people in a room. And I think We're better than everyone else.
Yeah.
I really want
You've
that.
come
more
to
than
the right
anything.
place.
I want people to talk about it. I want people to come out.
And yeah, and
Because also it will help the people that are abusing.
so do you have sympathy, empathy for those people who are abusing?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't, but I do a little bit. I think my therapist would be annoyed at me for that. I do, because I think, well, of course I do, otherwise I wouldn't have stayed with him for so bloody long.
Well, yeah, but do you know, like, so what sort of at the edges of what we're talking about here is when you're speaking about shame, the Giselle Pellico trial.
Yes.
Where, you know, if anyone who doesn't know, Giselle Pellico was a woman who was sedated by her husband on many, many occasions and raped by strangers that he organised for it to happen, and she never knew any of it happened. She then came out and said, I won't have my identity hidden because I shouldn't carry the shame. It should be for the men to carry the shame. And, you know, it was so incredible to see that, wasn't it?
Massively. I was like, I felt empowered by that, and I'd been doing my show before that happened, and that is exactly how I had felt. I'd said we need to give the shame back to where it came from. It's not ours to carry. So yeah, I was snapping her all the way to court. You know, that's actually devastatingly common. Also, that systemic rape of women. Really? I saw a CNN YouTube video about it the other day. They'd done an investigation and found that there's like WhatsApp Telegram groups with thousands of men in it that talk about buying G and putting their wife to sleep so they can rape them. And there's all these websites where women who are asleep are being raped by evil men. I don't have sympathy for those men, actually. But I have sympathy for LGBTQ plus people who maybe haven't healed and are inadvertently traumatizing their partners. I guess that's how I view it.
And what when you do this show, presumably then you hear from a lot of the community. What have you heard? Have people said, gay men said things to you, and also have, you know, lesbian, bi people, non-binary, trans people, etc.?
I have had gay men message me and say they've left their partner after seeing my show, or, you know, after a period of time, they've messaged me and said, I saw your show a year ago and it helped me realize that I was not in a healthy relationship. I feel a little bit alone, actually, when it comes to being a gay person talking about domestic abuse and violence. I don't feel as though the community are really paying any attention to it. I feel like when I perform my show, my audiences have changed. I used to have a lot of gay men, and now I feel like it is way more queer women, straight men. They seem to be connecting with the material in a way that gay men are unable to. And I don't know if that's my own experience clouding my judgment, hating gay men or whatever it is that I've got some hang up over because of my ex. But I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel a bit of a disconnect there sometimes. I'll give you an example. I did my show at Soho Theatre. My friend brought a gay man along to the show, and afterwards, in my show, I joke about being a bottom because I think I present as a bottom. And anyway, I'm not. I'm a verse as well. Like I do both. And my friend had told
broad church, as they say.
A broad church. And this friend of mine told this guy, oh, actually, he's a verse. And then the guy came up to me and he said, I didn't really like how you lied in your show.
Oh.
So obviously I'm like, what? I'm not lying. It's all true. And then he says, no, about being a bottom. So again, I laughed and was like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, apparently you're verse. And I just think that's really bad because you're sort of pretending you're a bottom, and the show's so truthful, and then you lie about that. It just feels like a bit like odd, and actually you're enforcing gender stereotypes by suggesting that because you're a bottom, you're a victim. And anyway, I don't know what the fuck that is, Chris, but it's that sort of, I get more comments like that from gay men than I do anyone else. Every other person that sees it seems to be very in tune with it, but I think that some gay men have a lot of work to do.
Some. We all do, baby. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. And probably worth ignoring.
Well, I'd probably write a show about it, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's so funny. Better. It doesn't upset me. I'm just like, what the hell? How is that the takeaway?
But if someone said, just to be briefly, the thing that surprised me about it is that if someone says because I'm a bottom, it doesn't mean I only bottom. That honestly, that's what I hear. It's just like there is something, people find it as in not anyone with any sense, but like people find it a sort of it's always considered taking a hit for your masculinity, the fact that you bottom when it.
Also, it's not even what I say in my show. I actually say the full context of it is. People often tell you, why didn't you hit back? You're both men, a bit of rough and tumble, never hurt anybody. And actually, I could have hit back. I'm very manly. I go to the gym. I can top. That's what I say. The audience laughs and says, and then I say, no, I actually can. And then they laugh and I just move on. So actually, I don't even say I'm a bottom. I just allow them to think I am.
That's insane. Okay, well, let's talk for a moment, James, about... why there is this silence, because the specifics are really, really interesting, aren't they? And it's not just bad news, I want to just say, because I know that there will be someone listening who has experienced this stuff and is in that process of needing to deal with it. Yeah. But, a lot of the domestic violence safe houses, for want of a better description, don't take trans women, don't take trans men. A lot of them don't take men, full stop. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Because it is considered to be, on the whole, a straight cis female problem. Why else have you, on this odyssey, have you discovered why it is so hidden in the queer community?
I'm very happy there are women's spaces, but I hate that there is a separation in that, because it isn't just like anyone can be a victim and anyone can be an abuser. And I think enforcing those gender roles into it, this is interesting based on what we just discussed, I think is really, really dangerous. I don't know why. I don't know why. I have an opinion why. Do you want my opinion? It might be wrong.
Hell yeah. That never stopped me.
I'm definitely flawed sometimes when it comes to opinions. I think we're so frightened of our rights being taken away from us, correctly so, that we don't want people to know that we have a problem. We want love is love. Love is love, right?
Yeah.
Like love is love. But it's not love if it hurts, and quite often it does hurt, so it's not love. But we don't really want to say that, because then we're worried people will say, oh, well, why did we give you gay marriage then if you're abusing each other? Well, why did you give straight people marriage? They're also abusing each other. But I also think, and this is my big bugbear, I feel as though we are so focused on what's happening out there with our rights, with... the LGBTQ plus, like anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric, Trump removing rainbow crossings in Florida. I think we are so focused on all of that we are not looking at ourselves. So we're sort of in this cycle of blaming other people for all of our problems, and that fair enough. Like, it's been pretty shit for queer people forever, so I get it. But also, like, let's work on ourselves a bit, because clearly domestic violence is happening to, I think it's a third. I mean, you read the stats. It's like a third or 2/3 higher for queer people than it is for straight people. That means basically 1 in 3 LGBTQ plus people are going to experience domestic violence or abuse from a partner. That's a lot. That's I don't know. If I'm not very good at maths. That's like half of us, I guess. So
yeah,
and there's chemsex killing people left, right, and center, and I just feel like we're not really talking about it. We don't really want to look at that. We'd rather look out there. We'd rather moan about what's happening out there. But actually, if we heal ourselves and we fix everything happening in here, we support each other, we stop separating trans people from the rest of the LGBTQ plus community, etc. Sorry, that didn't make any sense. Can I say that again? And certain members of the gay and lesbian community stop ignoring trans people and shutting them out. I think we come together and we heal and we work on all of our problems collectively, then maybe we will protect. Maybe we will be protected. Maybe we'll be. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but I do know what I'm trying to say, and I'm wording it really badly.
No, you're not at all. What you're saying is, we need to also look within and not just outwards, and talk about it. And here we are, James, talking about it.
I think we need to heal ourselves, come together, and then we'll be a force to be reckoned with. But at the moment, I think we're very fragmented, and we're hurting each other, and that's not going to work.
And so let's just talk about for a minute. I've got some resources here. Anyone, if you are wanting to contribute to this conversation in some way, please write in hello@homosapienspodcast.com, at homosapiens on Instagram. I want to give some resources that will also go in the show notes. Galop is the UK National LGBT plus domestic abuse helpline. You can call them 0800 999 5428. They have a trans-specific service on Tuesdays 1 till 5 p.m. They also have a couple of later night. Everything is online. They also have web chat. There's the LGBT Foundation in Manchester. And, these resources didn't exist 20 years ago. So there is some improvement.
Big up Coronation Street, by the way, for their gay domestic violence storyline.
Yes.
It has taught my mum so much.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Soaps are the best.
They are.
James, tell us about this tour where you are taking this show even further and wider.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to see, we've had quite a heavy discussion. It's hard to sort of imagine how I can turn that into comedy. But I definitely, I have. And I'm really proud of it. And I think it never feels like overbearing, or I think it's quite uplifting, honestly. So yeah, I would love your listeners to check it out. I'm performing in Cardiff, Manchester, Birmingham, Brighton, Bristol, Edinburgh, and Newcastle from August this summer.
Where do we go? Where do we go to buy tickets?
JamesBarrComedy.com.
Way fantastic. Listeners, please get in touch. Let's talk more about this. Let's come out about it. Also, this season we are supporting Not a Phase. So if you know anyone who you would like to nominate to get some gender affirming underwear, or you yourself are someone, write to us hello@homosapienspodcast.com, at homosapiens on Instagram. We have already been dispatching our first parcels. Thank you to everyone who's written in. Keep writing in about that. James, what's next for you today?
I'm going to take a nap, actually. Oh, no, I'm not. I've got a house viewing.
That's your nap reminder.
I forgot about that.
Oh, is that someone trying to get into your house?
Yeah, it is. Because I'm going to sell my house. I love you so much.
Good on you.
Thank you for having me.
Loads of love and well done. That was brilliant. Well done.